could we be seeing a lot of driver swaps during the summer break? Let's get right into it. Hello, everybody. This is Tyson and Mark here with the Formula One Digest. I'm joined by my co-host Mark, and today we are reacting to some breaking news surrounding the McLaren F1 team and some potential drivers that might be losing or moving teams either during the summer break or after the season ends. Mark, why don't you break down the situation first with McLaren?
Yes. So for those of you who are unaware, there is some major drama happening over in the IndyCar side of things. The reigning world champion of the IndyCar series, Alex Albon, has some contract issues, and it's been all over social media in the last few days. He signed, or they supposedly exercised an option they had to retain him for the 2023 onward seasons. And apparently this was done against his wishes, and he wasn't planning on returning to Chip Ganassi Racing. And now, by some miracle, he actually might end up racing in Formula One, because McLaren F1 Racing, or I guess McLaren Company, swooped in and quote unquote saved the day and signed Alex Albon. It's unclear as to whether or not that he was signed to the IndyCar side of things, or if he was going to be taking over Daniel Ricciardo's F1 seat. And Daniel, in amongst all of this, made a post saying that he isn't walking away from motorsports, and he is committed to the team, that being McLaren, but it also wasn't said that it was the McLaren F1 team. So it's all confusing. Alex Albon might end up in Formula One, and Daniel Ricciardo might end up somewhere else. I'm thinking that might be IndyCar. And on top of all of this, Colton Herta just did a test with the McLaren team in Portugal, and he's been in the F1 pipeline for a long time now too. And you have a whole host of other fabulous IndyCar drivers on the McLaren roster right now, in Felix Rosenqvist and Pato O'Ward, another name that has popped up for this F1 seat. But yes, right now it's looking like McLaren has a few too many drivers on their books, and very little of a plan on the go for these drivers.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's stirring the pot, and obviously nothing has been confirmed in terms of the seating for 2023 yet. Daniel Ricciardo is projected to be the driver, but things can change in a minute. You look and see how fast Pierre Gasly lost his seat in Red Bull a few years ago. Same thing could happen to Daniel Ricciardo, and there's a lot going on right now with McLaren. In your opinion, Mark, because I have my own opinion, but I want your opinion. Do you think that it's fair that Daniel's under a lot of criticism, even though McLaren didn't give him the best car possible?
Yeah, I do think it's fair that he's under this pure amount of criticism that he's under. Just look at what Mick Schumacher has been able to do, albeit up to his 33rd race start. He's now gone back to back scoring points in very underwhelming machinery. And I just think that if someone like Daniel Ricciardo, or someone who's supposed to be as is supposed to be as talented as Daniel Ricciardo is supposed to be, I think he should really be outperforming no matter what he's been given, the machinery he's been given. So yeah, I definitely think it's fair.
Definitely. No, for sure. And I think that what's interesting is that at the start of the year, McLaren looked like they had taken like 3 steps back after the previous year, and now they're kind of coming back. And Lando Norris has been pumping in a lot of good things for them. He obviously had that podium back in Imola, which was a good confidence boost, and he's been up and down ever since. But Daniel again has kind of been the same, where he's either just missing out on points or is just getting a few of the minor points in the 10 to 8 positions on the grid. I just checked, and he did finish ninth in Austria, and Lando finished in 7th. So it's definitely interesting because the the way Daniel's career has gone, it really makes you question what would have happened if he stayed with Red Bull instead of moving on to Renault.
Yeah, he definitely would have been a champion if he stayed at Red Bull. That's for sure. You saw last year they won one championship with Max, but if Daniel had stayed, that definitely would have been the second championship. Uh, he left just as everything seemed like it was changing for Red Bull, and like I think he gave up on the team, and the team didn't really have time enough for him. And it's been that same issue in Red Bull up until they've stumbled upon Sergio Perez, who's just been on it since day one. But is Sergio Perez the same caliber driver as Daniel Ricciardo? Has Sergio Perez always been this good, or is it just a matter of, you know, all the pieces working well together, where when Daniel was on the team, not all of those pieces were moving the way they needed to be?
That's actually a good question, because you really think about it, Daniel definitely has more of the hype train with him, and you see it in like interviews and stuff. It's Daniel Ricciardo, the honey badger, this and that. Sergio, in a way, has, I think all the pieces have definitely fit for him since coming to Red Bull, and this year more so than even last year, because he's more consistent, I find. But, maybe it was just bad timing for your Daniel, and it was just better timing for Checo. We love having Sergio in the Red Bull. He's been awesome since he came, and now he's vying for world championships. So it does make you question. And yeah, no, to answer your kind of question, I don't know, but I think a lot of it was Sergio came at the right time and Daniel left at the wrong time.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh,
And it was just when they switched their engines too, right? From the
yeah, it was from the
Renault.
Renault to the Red
Yeah,
Bull.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you saw in 2018, Daniel didn't really have the reliability under his car that he really needed. And the same was for Max. They both had wretched luck in 2018.
Yeah, so it's been a slippery slope down for Daniel Ricciardo. I think everyone loved seeing him win in Monza last year. Who knows if he can get another win this year? I'm vying for Lando to get his first win because I think that's a little overdue. He was obviously well, I've said this before. He robbed himself of the one in Russia, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what McLaren decides to do with a guy like Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it might be time to move on from this person in Daniel Ricciardo and look towards some of this amazing talent that's going on around in other motorsports. You also have drivers like Oscar Piastri who's sitting on the sidelines. A driver in your own camp like Pato O'Ward, who's been winning all of these races in IndyCar, driving an IndyCar like crazy, having a test in the young drivers test at the end of last year, and looking quite at home in a team like that. Um, you have to kind of start to look at where you're going to start to place your pieces. And in McLaren's case, I think they're going to do a bit of shuffling. There's some rumors that in the McLaren contracts, Zach can do basically anything he wants with your contract, and he can send you anywhere he sees fit for you and the team. So like Tyson said, there's definitely going to be some shuffling around. Whether the outcomes are what we predict, it's all still up in the air.
Oh yeah, and Daniel's not the only one who kind of has his seat up in the air for next year. There are a couple drivers that have been rumored that could be moving on or be out of F1 by the summer break, or as late as next year. And some of those drivers are two Williams drivers in Nicholas Latifi and Alex Albon.
Yep, definitely two drivers that are on the cusp. Albeit Alex is probably going to stay in F1. He's probably not out of F1 again. But it's looking more and more like Nicholas Latifi might be the driver that's out the door by the year or even summer break. And that leaves a seat open there. Now, Alex, I think if he performs well again this season, or performs well this season, I think he might look into a upgrade to a better team, in a team like Alpha Tauri, with a driver like Yuki Tsunoda also being on his way out the door with such a talented camp of young Red Bull drivers behind him, pairing up with Alex at Alpha Tauri if Pierre Gasly decides to leave, which is another thing that I think would be a smart decision for Alex or for Pierre to do. Or he could stay at the Williams camp and they can send someone like Daniel Ricciardo to Williams, and it could be a Red Bull rejects team.
Oh, bro. No, man. I honestly, I would be all for Alex coming back to the Red Bull camp in the form of AlphaTauri. I love my Sergio Perez, so he's not going nowhere. But Yuki Tsunoda is a guy who he's 16th in the championship with 11 points, and him and Pierre Gasly are only separated by 5 points, with Pierre only having 16. Daniel's 1 point ahead of them with 12. So there's definitely not been a lot of success in the junior Red Bull team. Pierre Gasly, you gotta wonder how much of a leash is Red Bull going to give him. I know he's supposed to be signed for next summer, but if there's a gap maybe at McLaren, maybe he's gonna try and put his name in the hat for it, even though there's probably already a couple names in the hat. I think it would be really cool to see Alex in AlphaTauri, because I think he's done a lot with the Williams car. When you look at it, 3 points doesn't say a lot, but you look at his qualifying and even some moments in his race, if a few things went his way, if he had a better car, I feel like he would still be in like a better position in the championships. Maybe not contesting for the world championship, but definitely helping his team in the constructors. What are your thoughts on that?
No, definitely. He's had some horrible luck this season, uh, and his car's broken apart at some very, very bad moments. And I think Pierre's a little bit better, or a lot better than what this AlphaTauri team is. I know he wasn't able to show it in the Red Bull, but not many people can drive and match Max Verstappen. It's a very steep task to do that. The way that Max likes to set up his cars, and subsequently the way that drivers tend to go towards a fast setup when they see their teammates do something like that. Sergio Perez has absolutely just been at home in that car and in that team. So you're right. I don't really want to see Sergio Perez leave, but I just don't think that it's a good fit for Pierre Gasly to go back for Red Bull when they kind of just let him go. It might be a better idea for him to go somewhere, say like Aston Martin, or even, yeah, like you said, McLaren. Like those are all great options for him. And there's more to life than just the Red Bull team. And I think as soon as, well, he may have already realized it, but as soon as it's realized for him, he's probably going to be on the next flight to that other team, whoever they be.
Definitely. And wouldn't it be nice to see him go to Alpine once Fernando Alonso finally retires for good this time, and he joins his fellow Frenchman and Esteban Ocon?
Yeah, it would be. I think a French manufacturer with two French drivers would be great. Although that does leave a certain Oscar Piastri out of a race seat still. But yes, I think if Fernando does retire, uh, sadly that might not ever happen. He's going to end up in the league just like Jaromir Jagr wants back in the NHL.
Oh man, he's gonna be 50 and like driving in like IndyCar or something.
Oh, I wouldn't mind that. Him and Juan Pablo Montoya would definitely be winning some Indy 500 still.
I know. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the McLaren seats. I know Daniel was excited to race in Vegas next year, but he might not get the chance to do it after all. We'll see what happens with Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, and Alexander Albon. All names to look out for as we enter the summer break. We have France next week, and then we have Hungary the following week, and then we will be on the summer break where anything can happen, folks. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Give us a follow on TikTok and Instagram, and we will see you folks in the next one.